Hello! We are talking about my 2024 knitting plans today. My name is Johanna. I do YouTube videos about my knitting, mainly knitting podcasts, but today we are talking about all the yarn I bought for 2024 for my knitting plans. A little bit like on a recap on 2023, what I took out of the year knitting wise, and what I want to knit in the coming months. I have a long list. I have a lot of yarn, like this is my yarny basket. I love it. It looks so pretty, and it's not even all of it. Obviously, there's just one skein of each project and color in there, and the rest of it is lying in the background. And yeah, I also have a big plastic box next to me with all the other yarn I might talk about. So let's get into it. I will put in chapters again. I also would put the name of the yarn and the pattern I want to knit on the screen, and also a lot of pictures to reference about what pattern I am talking about. So let's go back to last year a little bit. So I'm not going to do everything I knit in 2023 video, also not talking about my hits and flops and stuff like that. I really enjoy watching these kind of videos myself, but to be honest, last year wasn't my greatest, and I'm not very much looking forward to like going back each month on how I spent it, what I did. Also, I lost one of my favorite knits, so yeah, it's just, I'm glad we left 2023 behind us. And also I did, like, I think at least 60-70% of my knitting was gift knitting, so most of my knits I don't even have with me, so I think it's kind of pointless to talk about them if I can't show them. Nonetheless, I think I took some things out of last year or learned some things about my knitting and my preferences, and yeah, going into this year of 2024, I think some learnings are I'm going to take and apply to my knitting. So I think while 2022 I was still a student, then I finished my master's and I was without a job. So I didn't have a real income. I couldn't afford very much anything of yarn-wise, and I think that's also the year I discovered that you can knit a sweater under 50 euros with drops yarn. And I think last year, 2023, was then the year that I had a job and I had an income, and I also was able to try out big popular brands for the first time, and I think you can really see that. Like, I tried out Knitting for Olive, Noro, Sandnes Garn, Lana, like I think all these, like, in the online community, big names. And yeah, and I also learned that I'm more of a yarn-based knitter than a pattern-based knitter, but I will get into that later on. So just like, not a trigger warning, might be a little bit too much, but I will talk a little bit about money and yarn budgeting. So if you don't want to hear that, because for some people this can be a sensitive topic, I will just put a timestamp when I finish this. So like I said, last year was the first time that I had like a full-time job income, which was quite generous in comparison to what I earned in the last 10 years when I was a student. And also, knitting is kind of my only hobby, and at the beginning I kind of wanted to set myself a budget, and I monitored how much money I spent on knitting. So that means yarn, equipment like needles, stitch markers, also patterns obviously. So I think, yeah, a lot of, like, this like hobby budget or yarn budget or knitting budget covers a lot of stuff. And I actually think I haven't seen any content about like how much people spend on their crafty hobbies. I think it's also probably because it's a very personal topic, and I can understand that you don't want to put it out there, but I think it's important to talk about money, and also like without like, I don't know, offending people who can't spend that much money, but also don't offend people who like to spend a lot of money on things and can afford it. So yeah, I kind of like, just because I didn't really have a feeling how much knitting would cost me, I just set an amount of 100 euros for each month. And it wasn't like a strict limit, like if I spend more, that's okay. If I spend way less, that's obviously great. But I just wanted to measure it and know how much I want to spend on knitting, and obviously without going broke, because I think there is like in yarn wise you can spend endless of money. And so, but I looked in what I spent average, and I spent around 120 euros for everything knitting related, though I didn't count into that my gift knits. And like I said, I gift knitted quite a lot, and also sweaters or garments, which were quite expensive, but I count these as gifts. Like if I would buy, I don't know, some interior decoration thing for a friend as a present, I wouldn't count them into my hobby section as well. And I think that's a huge amount of money if you put it like that in the yearly amount. But also like reducing it to the monthly basis, I'm fine with, like, in comparison to what I earn, and that I don't really have any other hobbies that like take a lot of money. I'm fine with spending that much money on my knitting. I feel very comfortable with it, and I'm also comfortable with like the quality that I get for that money. And like, because it's not only the hobby, but I get a finished product that goes into my wardrobe at the end as well, that will hopefully last me forever. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk about it. I hope no one is offended. Like I said, if it's a sensitive topic, I hope you skip this part. But since nobody's talking about money and knitting, other than like there's like low budget yarns and like more expensive yarns, and I think there are like definitely people you can save a lot more money. You can spend a lot less money in knitting, but you can spend a lot more money than I do as well, like especially with indie yarns. I'm not really into indie yarns, so I think that's a huge thing where I save money. I'm a lot, or like indie dyed yarns, and also I feel like in Europe yarn is less expensive in comparison. So when I look at like indie dyed yarns in the US, they are like 30-40 US dollars, and I think the US dollar is nearly the same as euros right now, so there's not much of a difference. And yeah, so just putting it out there, do with this information whatever you want, but yeah, I like to talk open about money, because I think it's important to talk about it. So yeah, like I said, I learned that I'm a wool or yarn based knitter and not a pattern based knitter. And what I meant about that is that I actually plan my knitting around the yarn and not around the pattern. And that really continues this year as well. Like I think even like stronger. So it's rather that I look for yarn that I want to try out or that I really like, and I buy that, and or think about what I can do with it, and go to my like Ravelry list or my pattern wish list, and look what works. And that's also the reason why I rarely work with the recommended yarns from the patterns, so that I rather like have yarn that I want to knit with and look at what pattern could work with it that I have saved in the past. And so I rarely like see a pattern and buy the yarn for it, rather that I buy the yarn and think what pattern I could make with it. And I'm also focusing, I want to focus more on like smaller brands. I think the word sustainable is quite difficult in like the textile area, so I'm a little bit careful with that. But like usually like non-big commercial brands and like more local yarns, indie brands, not indie dyed but indie brands, and I would consider more sustainable, so I want to focus more on that. But I also still have like a lot of like big yarn brands that I want to try, so I definitely want to try out more Isager yarns. I still haven't worked with Berg that I'm still very curious about. And I'm also focusing 2024 on closing gaps in my wardrobe. So I think in last year I didn't knit that much for myself, or garment wise at least, and so this year I definitely are focusing on sweaters or cardigans, like big yarn amounts and garments, because I wear them a lot. I wear them all year round, so they are like a good investment for me. And I'm also trying out more heavyweight garments. Before that I knitted more with like fingering to light DK bases, and now I'm going more into more heavyweight yarn, so DK to worsted and Aran weight. I'm not 100% sure where like the classifications start and stop, and there's going to be fingering weight garments in the summer definitely, but I'm also trying out thicker yarns this year because I need thicker and warmer garments where I live, and that's not gonna change. Yeah, and I also like the drape of like more heavyweight sweaters in comparison to more lightweight ones. So another thing is I ordered a lot of yarn in December. Some things were coincidental because it just appeared that they offered the yarn in a really short time period and I had to grab it, otherwise it would have been sold out. But on the other hand, I definitely wanted to buy more yarn in advance, but I also have the goal to finish all of my sweater amounts until the end of 2024, because first of all I have like these two very big plastic containers where I store all of my yarn in to keep it safe from moths, and one is only like scrap yarns, and the other one is like full skeins, full balls of yarn, or like whole sweater quantities. But with the amount that I ordered in December, it doesn't fit anymore, and what I would like to reach is to fit all of my yarn back into these two containers, because last year I realized that I don't really like keeping a yarn, like a bigger, like a sweater amount of yarn lying around for too long. I realized that when I bought in spring the yarn for the porcelain sweater, and then I changed my mind and didn't really want to knit it anymore. I didn't really find the time to figure out what else I want to knit with it, and it was lying around and stressing me out because I wanted to finish or work the yarn up before I buy new yarn, or start at least knitting with it, and I didn't really want to have it lying around this year anymore because I was worried if yarn is lying around too long, it also, the risk for moth attacks is getting higher. Like if you have like a high fluctuation of yarn, the risk is reducing because the yarn isn't lying around that long to be able to be eaten by moths. Obviously my sweater still, like the finished object, still can be eaten by moths, so that's another problem. But yeah, so I think that's like one big thing for me in 2024. So finish what I bought, and that means not like singular balls of yarn that I bought maybe for without object in mind or a pattern in mind or just for an accessory. So I just mean like sweater amounts of yarn. I still will do like 2 big gift knits this year, but I am not sure what pattern and yarn I will use, so I will get back to that later in the year when it comes to gift knitting these. And I will also not talk today about any summer garments. I do have like a little bit of plant-based yarn that I want to use for this summer, but I don't buy these in advance really. And also I want to see what summery t-shirt patterns come out this year in spring before purchasing any others like plant-based or plant fibers. So I will mainly talk about sweater and cardigans, a little bit about socks, but that's it. And I think accessories, I'm very spontaneous knitter throughout the year, but I also knit a lot of hats in the last year, so I don't know if I need so many more for 2024. Some of the patterns I will talk about are actually patterns you might have seen or that I have mentioned in the past in other videos of mine, and that just shows me I still want to knit these. Like mainly my taste in garments or pattern is still the same. I just haven't gotten around to either knitting them or couldn't afford the yarn that I wanted to knit them in. So yeah, but I finally think I will get around this year to making them. Like I said, I'm focusing more this year on German indie yarns, and what I found out is like they're actually a lot more or a lot less expensive. Like most of these 100-gram skeins vary between like 12 to 18 euros, which adds up not that expensive, I think. But I don't talk about like, I think some of these yarns are indie dyed, but they aren't like big indie dyed brands, and like we know them from North American indie dyers. And I'm also more focusing on natural colors, which I think smaller brands in Germany or Europe are very great for. I also have like a very long list of like small, more sustainable focused yarn brands that I found over the last 2 years. I could make a video if anyone is interested about it and just talk about them, yarns that I have tried out, but mainly like yarns that I want to try out basically. Yeah, the list is very long. Obviously for my more international viewers, I hope this is still interesting to you, because for me, if I see other international, especially like North American knitters, use like more local yarn to them, for me that's very inspiring to try out more local yarns or find something similar where I live and that is available to me. And it's not like, oh, I can't get that. It's more like, where can I get something similar where I live? So yeah, I hope this is still interesting content for you, even though these yarns might not be available where you live. I'm also planning on doing like a big scrap project at the end of the year, and yeah, probably the Celeste sweater or the Paul Klee sweater, because I'm planning a lot of like color work sweaters for the year, and I think there's a lot of yarn left over from that, because most of the time for color work you don't need whole skeins of one color, and I want to make that like more sustainable in that way that I use up the yarn that I have and reduce the amount of scraps I have. So let's get into the patterns that I want to knit and with what yarn I want to knit. And I think I'm sorting them like from heavyweight to lighter objects, and some of them I'm going to knit more in the second half of this year, so in autumn. I won't be able to knit them all until spring, though I continue knitting sweaters through the summer. So yeah, let's take a sip. And oh, I'm sorry, I just hit my lamp. Let's get into patterns, and I swatched for most of them already. So yeah, my basket, I have it standing next to me. So the first sweater that I want to knit is the Stripe Overload Polo by Spektakelstrik, and I knitted this already last year for a friend, and I tried it on and I really liked it, and I thought to myself, I really want to have one for myself, but this time I actually wanted to have a striped one. And last year I discovered the combination of a grey beige with reds, and I wanted to get into this a lot more this year. So, and this is a little swatch I made, and the yarn is Cyrano, at least that's how I think you say it, by rerum natura. And it's the yarn that I bought with the discount on Venetia's live stream, where she offered a discount on their website. And so I don't know if this is like, I think it's Aran weight, 150 meters for 100 grams. It's 100% wool, and it's recommended for 5 to 6 millimeter needles. So yeah, this is like a very like OT grayish color and a more dark red, and it's like, but you can see that it's like dyed on darker yarn, like you can see like darker hovering through the red. And the colors, oh, I don't know, Poivre Isager, I think it's pepper and salt, and this is Audepine, I think. So I love this color combination. I can't wait to have this garment, and yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, because last time it dragged, the knitting dragged quite, no, it took some time to knit this, and at some time I got bored, but this time I'm not knitting it in a solid color, but more knitting it in a, like in the recommended stripes. So I think it's going to be a lot more fun, because you want to get to the next stripes. And yeah, I think these color combination, I love it, and you will see red is a common theme for 2024. The next sweater I want to knit is the cloud sweater, and I said that already, and I'm planning on knitting it in Manchelopis by Wooldreamers, and this is unspun yarn, and I think it's the second color. So I think the first one is like a natural white, it looks like a sheep, basically like a light sheep, and this is more like a beige, cool beige, I would say. And I knitted a gauge swatch already. I did it on like, I think 4.5 down here. No, other way around, 4.5 and 5 millimeter. And I think I will go with the 4.5 just to meet gauge for the cloud sweater. I think the original pattern is knit in a like chain yarn, or like these fluffy yarns like Drops Air, or I think Isager is the one that PetiteKnit is using it. And yeah, I really wanted to try out unspun yarn for some time now, and I thought this is a great opportunity to have like a very basic but lightweight sweater, and I also want to have it like in a very big positive ease. I think it's like 30 centimeters that she recommends, so I'm definitely gonna do it, and yeah, very much looking forward to it. I have like five things, like however you call these cakes. I don't think I need all of them, so I might do something else with the scraps, but we will see, because when I bought the yarn in December, she hadn't put out the yarn amount that you need for the meterage for the sweater, so I just bought estimating on what I need. And I think this is also very affordable yarn, so at least in Europe. I think in the US it's quite more expensive, but very much looking forward with knitting with this. And I'm holding it like double because it's coming double out of the cake, but I'm not holding it with a strand of mohair, so I hope it's not gonna peel like crazy. But the lady in the store told me that her sweater she wore is also knit only with 2 strands of unspun yarn, and she said it's working out great for her. So the next sweater is going to be a colorwork sweater, and the yarn that I bought for that is this yarn. And obviously the color combination is very similar to the striped overload polo. So this is like one of these like indie German yarns that I found, and it's called Wanderschäferei, Paula and Konsorten. And what is really cool about it, it's like a wandering or nomad shepherd that like travels with his herd, like sheep herd, around, and he produced for the first time yarn from the fleeces of his sheep. And like a lot of these like small brands, they finance themselves with crowdfunding, and I really want to support more German or European based yarn brands. And they have like a lot of different colors, so definitely check them out. They also put out a little newsletter that some of their yarns are rubbing off on your hands, and one of them is thread. So I need to take that into consideration. It doesn't bleed when washing, but it just a little bit of the color rubs onto your hands while knitting. I don't think I will do this color combination because I am already knitting a red beige sweater, though you can definitely see that like this is like the Cyrano is more cool toned, and this is like has a little bit more yellow into it, and the red is also a little bit different. So this is much more, Cyrano is cool toned again, and this one is much more like more yellow orangey and also more muted. What I also have is like still like other balls of yarn. So I still have like this dark green left over from the stripe from a gift knit last year, so that could be a really cool combination. And I also have like this dark navy blue from Knitting for Olive, and that could also be a very beautiful combination. This was Peruvian wool, Highland wool from Lana. So I think there's a lot of like possibilities to combine this yarn, and I haven't like made a final decision on what colorwork sweater I want to do. Like very high contenders are the Lumme pullover by Sari Nordlund, one of the colorwork sweaters from Augustin DK, and one of the colorwork sweaters from Hanne Rimmen. I all love them a lot. I think they're very beautiful, and they're also like more heavyweight circular yoke garments, but I think I will spontaneously decide which one it's going to be in the end. I also bought another color from the Wandering Flock of Paula and Konsorten, and it's like this natural looking gray, though I think it's dyed. It's like a very heavy gray, and I haven't decided what I want to knit with it. I have a whole sweater amount of it, so this might become in the end finally a sweater number 18 or something else textured. But I also have another gray yarn, or 2 other gray yarns, so I need to see that like they don't end up in very similar patterns in the end, because another yarn that I got was this cone. Oh, I think the sun is showing. So yeah, it's a cone of yarn. I have like 2 others of them, and I actually bought them through Instagram from Antje Varjen. She's a local to me weaver, and she gives also workshops on weaving looms, and she's also someone who does the regional wool weave along, so, and shares a lot of like local yarn brands, which I found very great source to check them out. And yeah, she wanted to sell this yarn on Instagram, and I bought 1 kilogram from her, so it's way, like, it's a lot. So because I think this is like an worsted Aran weight yarn as well, and what I wanted to do is textured cardigan or jacket kind of, and I knit a gauge swatch for this. So the pattern from this magazine that I bought, I think in 2022. I think you probably can still get it. I will try to find a shop at least that ships them to most parts of Europe. And the pattern that I want to knit, and I already showed this once before, is this jacket. And I don't know how well you can see this. So I thought when I saw that pattern that it's a basket weave kind of texture, but it turns out it's actually a texture of stockinette and half fisherman's rib. But I find it still very cool, and I really like the fit of the cardigan, and I think it takes a lot of yarn, and since I have like a whole kilogram of that, I think it's a great opportunity. And since my levitate wrap didn't turn out like a big oversized boxy cardigan as I hoped for, it's more like a cropped cardigan, I'm hoping to make this like longer, so it's just your easy cardigan that you can throw over everything. So but you see, like, I mean, this is more like a beigey gray, and this is like a cooler toned gray, but still, like, how many gray garments can you need? Because the next yarn is also gray, and it's a yarn you have seen on this channel before as well, and it's a Hjeltholt Uldspinnery Gressgarn. And after filming my podcast episode for December, and I looked up the information for the yarn, I found out it was taking it out of stock, and it was on sale, and so I ordered it to a sweater amount of yarn for it, and I'm planning on making the Guernsey Genser for myself. This is going to be definitely an autumn-winter project, because I just recently knit that pattern or finished it for a friend, and I'm not looking forward to making it straight again. But when I finished that, I decided I really want one for myself in my wardrobe, but for myself I wanted a more rustic yarn, and then like the Isager Highland wool that I used for my friend, and I think this is just perfect. And since it was on sale, it wasn't that expensive, but yeah, you can see a lot of beige and gray, but still some pops of color here and there. But yeah, so I think when I finish all of these beige and gray sweaters, I have like a very staple wardrobe, and I can sort out some of my commercially bought sweaters or secondhand sweaters, and I can give them to my friends and wear only my hand knit sweaters. First side finished. Now we're getting into more colorwork sweaters. Another project I'm planning on doing is the Col Audepine by Caitlin Hunter or Boyland Knits. This pattern I chose because of the yarn that I bought in the UK, and it is this very lovely color combination from Erika Knight Local, and I was trying to find a colorwork sweater, obviously with a pattern that I like, but also that fits with this yarn. And I'm going to use the dark navy as a background color and use these, the yellowish green and the muted rust as like the flowers. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to make it, like if I put the flowers and the rust and the leaves and the green, but I saw also some lovely combination where everything was in one color and you make the middle of the flowers in a different color. I found that very lovely as well. So, and this is more of a lighter weight yarn, so it's like 100 grams, 450 meters. So yeah, it says 2 to 3 millimeter, so it's more like a fingering sport weight. I think it's woolen spun and will bloom very much. But also a lovely viewer commented on one of my last videos and said they knitted with 4 millimeter needle because it grew so much. So I will need to try out a little bit what gauge and what needle size I'm going to use, but I think circular yoke patterns are very easy to adapt to the size you need, because you can like just stop making increases after the color work or cast on less stitches under the sleeves. So I think this yarn is going to be the perfect dreamy. It's quite romantic in these color combinations, but yeah, very much looking forward to that. Putting it down. I'm also planning on making the pressed flower socks. At least I'm hoping to, because I thought this is like the perfect pattern to use up all of my Advent colors. The Advent calendar that I bought in the beginning of 2023. So I opened up not in December but in January. And I haven't really found a perfect project for it because it's all variegated or speckled yarns, and also in like these 20-gram mini skeins, and also it's a sock yarn. So I'm thinking if I enjoy the pattern, I might just make a series of pressed flower socks with like a fitting contrast color, like main color, and then these flowers all have like these variegated shades of the Advent calendar. I think that would be a lovely way of using up these mini skeins. I'm getting really warm over here. I think it's always ending up like this because when talking and sitting in front of the window, I'm always getting warm. Another thing I'm very curious about is the Isager Archives series that is coming out this year, I think. I've seen the designs by PetiteKnit, My Favorite Things Knitwear, and other loops. They showed like sneak peeks of it. And I'm considering knitting the Norma sweater by My Favorite Things Knitwear because she uses yarn that I already have in stash. So she designed a colorwork sweater with Isager tweed mohair, and I have a lot of Isager tweed mohair left from some other projects and also bought a new color. So let me get it. I'm back. So I got the last yarn that I already caked up, and yeah, it's Isager tweed. It's not the Aran tweed, but the one that has a mohair base or part in it, and I already bought like these two colors last year, so these like lime green and yeah, chocolatey brown, and this has like gray and blue speckles in it, and this has like orange and green ones. And I also got this blue base, which has like blue and cream colored speckles in it, and I think this color combination on a cream base could be really cool for the Norma sweater. And I think she uses the tweed with an extra strand of mohair that I don't think I would do, because I think that would be quite an expensive sweater. So I'm thinking of holding like the tweed mohair double and using as a background color Isager Jensen, but the pattern isn't out yet, so I don't know if gauge wise that will work out, but I also can like adapt the pattern to the gauge I have. And but I think this would be a very lovely color combination that I would really look forward having in my wardrobe. I originally bought these yarns to make a color blocking vest, but I already have like 3 vests and one is in the making, so 4 total, and I don't know how many more vests I actually need, because there isn't that big of a like seasonal gap where I am able to wear like long shirts with vests over it. Most of the time you either wear like sweaters, and then there's a very short time period where you can only wear like t-shirts or tank tops. So yeah, really looking forward to making this. So yeah, and also the Johanna loop sweater from Other Loops I really like as well. I could really imagine making a low contrast version, but I'm not 100% set on it, because that would mean I would need to buy a total new yarn amount for a sweater, and for all like these other projects I already have at least partly or all of the yarn. So I would focus on that and see if I still have time, because I think these are a lot of like sweaters. I haven't counted them, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sweaters already, which means, yeah, and 2 whole garments as gift knits. That would nearly cover all of the year already. And one other thing or 2 other things I would love to have, but I haven't bought the yarn yet, and this might not be, like, this might continue more into 2025, and I might not start or finish them this year, because I would love to have a true red and a really green sweater, and just a plain solid color. And I think the red theme, we have seen it last year, and I think at least on my Instagram feed with like styling influencers, like not knitting influencers but styling influencers, there's a lot of people who are wearing a lot of like true red. And last year we had like the tomato soup core knit along, and Venetia is hosting the pomegranate red knit along. So I think generally I'm not the only one who's obsessed with red. But for example, like the red I'm thinking of is a red like this. So yeah, I think it's a very true red. So in comparison to like the Cyrano red, this is like more burgundy, even though I wouldn't call it burgundy, but it goes more in the direction of a dark red, and this is like a true red. And this yarn is BC Yarn Beer Shetland, and I won't knit the sweater in this yarn, but I have bought this in the past for a different colorworks project that I won't start this year. But I'm looking for a red that is similar, probably in a DK worsted weight, and I'm thinking of the Marsh sweater. I don't know how you actually say that. It's by Pastel Collectivet, It's a Danish designer, and the sweater pattern is her version and the test knitters versions are all in very bright colors, and I would love to knit it in a very bright color as well. And I love the cut, and but yeah, I haven't bought the yarn for it, so it might be one of the projects that, yeah, isn't like on my priority list very high up this year. And the same goes for a very green, and I mean not like these kind of greens. Like, I think I already have a lot of like dark green or olive colored or pine colored sweaters. Sage colors or like these pale greens, they look horrible on me. They make me look sick, even though I love the colors in itself, but it's definitely not something I would wear anymore. But I want to have like a very green, I don't even know how to describe the color, because it's just probably like the pencil green that you have in your pencil case with all the rainbow colors. And I think, for example, Isager has a lovely like really like middle green color, and also Biche makes beautiful like more variegated, like, or not variegated but heathered greens. But I think a sweater in Biche greens would be very expensive, so I'm not sure if I'm willing to spend that money. But yeah, I would love to have like more solid colors, solid colored colorful sweaters, even though I showed you a lot of beige and gray. But I think these are the things that I immediately need in my wardrobe, and like this is more something fun that I want to add to my wardrobe, but it's like not necessary. And because I already have a lot of sweaters, so it's like not that I'm missing anything in my wardrobe, it's just what I want in my wardrobe. So yeah, I think I hopefully inserted a lot of pictures of patterns and yarns. If I don't have them with me, I also have this yarn, which is the yarn that I get every year from my sponsored sheep Hilde, which was a gift. And yeah, in November I got the second batch after last year's first batch, and I used a lot of the yarn to knit the twist loop neck, but I still have some left from 2022. And now I got like 3 skeins, new skeins of the cream color and 2 skeins of the dark brown, and the dark brown was new. I hadn't had it before, and you really can see like the bits of straw which are still in there. And yeah, I have no idea what I want to knit with it, because it's very rustic and I don't have enough to make a whole colorwork sweater. So I'm kind of indecisive. It can't be anything that I wear next to skin, but I'm in no hurry. I could also imagine myself waiting until this coming autumn to see what I will get then, if it's going to be again like 2 colors or just 1 color, and see the total amount I have in the end and what I could do with it. I'm looking at all of the yarn that is lying to my feet, and I think we covered all of it, and it's under 1 hour. I'm very impressed with myself. I'm getting faster. Maybe I'm talking faster, but yeah, so let me know what your plans for 2024 are, or if you want to knit one of the designs I mentioned as well. I'm very much looking forward to it. I was like really struggling to decide which pattern to knit first, and in the end I went for like from heavyweight to lighter, and so yeah, starting with the thickest yarn and going to the lightest yarn, and because I love all of them and I can't wait until I have all of them in my wardrobe. So I think that's a very good thing to look forward to for this year. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed hearing all about my knitting plans. I might do another one in spring, beginning of summer, or like half year recap kind of thing, like how much did I actually knit of all these plans and what summer garments do I want to knit. We will see how the year continues and if I'm able to knit all of these sweaters. And yeah, with that, I say goodbye and I see you in my next podcast episode.